So in this video, I want to go through 4 examples where we're going to have to factorise the quadratic into a single bracket. Now, you may be wondering, well, why can't we use the difference of 2 squares on these? Well, first reason, let's take a look at that first one. The first reason is because in this first example, there isn't a difference. Okay, so difference means subtraction. There is no subtraction between the 2 terms. And so we can't use the difference of 2 squares. So that's out. Even if we look at number 2, yes, there is a subtraction. Yes, there are 2 terms. But the difference of 2 squares won't get you anything simpler. Okay, it will not aid you. So the method just doesn't work in these cases. Another method that I want to dispel immediately is you may be looking at this and going, both of the terms have an x involved, so let's just divide through by x to get rid of it. Okay, that is a big error. Okay, we do not want to divide through by x in these equations. What will happen is that you will lose a solution. So the way that division works when you're looking at an equation is you must be on the eye and watchful of dividing by a term that could be 0. Okay? If you ever do that, if you divide by something that could be 0, you could lose those solutions. So let's go through this example so you can see how it's going to work. So what you have done, if you have spotted, oh, both terms have an x involved, so I can do something with the x, that is good, okay? Because both of these terms have an x involved. So that means we can factor the x out of a single bracket. Now, we've gone through videos on factorising already in previous sections, okay? So I'm not going to go through it laboriously again here. We're going to open up a bracket and we'll have x plus 8 inside the bracket. Okay, so just double check that this has worked by expanding the bracket in your head. X times x makes the x squared, x times 8 makes the 8x. So yes, the factorising has worked, that is correct. Now, essentially you have 2 brackets here. We just don't bother drawing a bracket round the x. Let's just do so for this example. So just as we had in the previous video when we had factorised using the difference of 2 squares, we were looking at what happens if you've got 2 numbers multiplied together make 0. Either this bracket is 0, so either x equals 0, or this bracket is 0, which means that x would be negative 8. Okay? So there are 2 solutions to the original equation. Now, if you had divided through by x at the start, x divided by x is x, 8x divided by x is 8 equals 0, and you would have got just one solution, x equals negative 8. So dividing through by x has eliminated one of your solutions. Okay, so you've got to make sure you don't do that. Do not divide through by x. Okay, so let's take a look at the second example. X squared take away 10x equals 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to factorise this. Both terms have an x involved, so we can factor the x out and have x take away 10 on the inside of the bracket. So either this is 0, so x is 0, or this is 0, in which case x is equal to 10. So we have 2 solutions, 0 and 10. Okay, or 0 or 10. So the third one, x squared plus 1/2 x is equal to 0. Both terms have an x involved, so let's factor the x out and have inside the bracket x plus a half. So either the x is equal to 0 or x plus a half is equal to 0, which in that case is x equals minus a half. Okay? And so the last one, x squared take away 3/5 x is equal to 0. Both terms have an x involved, so let's factor the x out of a single bracket, like so. And so either the x is 0 or x is equal to 3/5, adding 3/5 to both sides. And there are two solutions.